When news breaks, we break in. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
KVNU News Time is 5:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update, and the news brought to you by Roof Rescue. Weber County Sheriff's officials are not giving up on efforts to upgrade the county jail. A proposed bond issue of up to $98 million to upgrade the jail and build a new sheriff's office facility failed at the ballot box in November. But the sheriff's office has come up with a scaled-back $30.8 million proposal, now facing scrutiny by Weber County officials as they prioritize spending on capital projects. The focus of the revamped plan is to add space for medical and mental health treatment of inmates. Chief Deputy Philip Reese said more and more inmates are entering the facility with substance abuse issues, notably from fentanyl abuse, that require attention. County leaders have been debating expansion of the jail, which has a capacity of nearly 900 for 4 years. The key focus as discussion commenced was expanding medical and mental health offerings to improve inmate care. But with last year's bond proposal, county officials put forward a plan that called for a larger expansion that would have met sheriff's office and jail space needs for up to 50 years. After the bond question's failure, the proposal reverts to the initial parameters, augmenting facilities for addressing inmates' varied health needs. KVNU News Time is 5:04. KVNU weather for tonight. Mostly cloudy skies is our forecast with a good chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm. Showers tomorrow as well. Overnight low tonight in the low 40s, high tomorrow in the mid-50s. It was 56 today. It's 53 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. There are a lot of spammers and fake companies on social media trying to rip you off when it comes to air duct cleaning. The Duct Hunter, a Logan area company, would love to help with your air duct cleaning. Call the Duct Hunter at 435-770-4813.
Roof Rescue is your local roofing specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top-quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 5:06. Law enforcement is again alerting the public about a phone scam that continues to steal thousands of dollars from citizens in northern Utah. The scammers use different disguises to pose as law enforcement, utility companies, court clerks, and others. North Park Police Chief Kent Goodrich said they learned earlier this week that scammers were posing as their police officers, telling people they had a warrant and would be arrested unless the person sent a large amount of Apple gift cards and use it as payment.
Our USU Police Department notified us that our phone number was being used as part of this scam, trying to get people to send the gift cards there. And so because that is a legitimate phone number, there was a concern that people were actually buying into that.
Victims have reported the scammers sound official and will make it appear that they are calling from an official phone number. In some cases, they will have even gathered information about the victims on social media. Goodrich said the callers will also make the victims feel like if they don't resolve this immediately, something bad will happen.
You have a warrant for your arrest, and if you don't do this, then the police is going to come arrest you, and you'll go to jail, and you'll lose your job. And they focus a lot on the intimidation and the fear tactic along with it.
The police department does not contact people by phone to advise them that they have warrants. If you receive a phone call like this, it is highly likely to be a scam. And many people getting close to retirement age believe retirement will never be an option for them. And in a study of average retirement savings in each state, Utah comes in dead last. According to data from SoFi, Utahns on average have $315,160 saved for retirement, which is less than any other state. Connecticut is on the far other end of the list, with an average balance of $545,754. That's $230,000 more than Utahns have. Utah's bottom of the list savings ranking could use context, as the state also has the youngest population in the country. According to SoFi stats, baby boomers have an average retirement balance of more than $1 million, while for Gen Z, it's $38,000. KVNU News Time is 5:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Devotion to country, service to Utah. Brent Orrin Hatch had a front row seat, watching his father serve our state faithfully in the Senate. A constitutional conservative and lifelong Republican, Brent Orrin Hatch is a champion for the rule of law. He's running for Senate to stop this lawless president from destroying our country from within. Hatch will fight to secure the border once and for all and take on Mexican drug cartels to halt the flow of deadly fentanyl. Brent Orrin Hatch knows the national debt is just as big a threat to national security. Hatch won't rest until the budget's balanced and won't cave to the big spenders in both parties. Pro-life, deeply committed to religious liberty, rock-solid Utah conservative. Brent Orrin Hatch for Senate. Paid for by Conservative Outsider PAC, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.copac.us.
Have you or a loved one recently been injured in a car accident or injured in a semi-truck collision? No one deserves to be injured in an accident, but everyone deserves an advocate. Hi, Cache Valley. My name is York, and I'm an injury attorney with The Advocates. Did you know that you can be compensated for medical bills, time missed at work, as well as pain and suffering damages? A motor vehicle accident is life-changing, so let The Advocates help you get your life back on track. Let us be your advocate. Call 801-355-5550 or chat online at utahadvocates.com.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Warmer temperatures have both weeds and grass competing for space in your yard. Dandelions, thistle, clover, morning glory will all be kept under better control when you have us applying pre-emergence and weed control. At the same time, we can feed your grass to make sure it wins the battle and keep it lush and growing all season long. Regular visits from the lawn doctor will help your lawn be healthier and pest-free.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, at 753-LAWN. Follow them on Facebook or go to LawnDoctorCacheValley.com.
Join the American Festival Chorus and Orchestra on Saturday, April 27th at 7:30 as they present the restoration and inspiring oratorio by celebrated Utah composer Merrill Bradshaw of BYU. The choir is thrilled to perform this inspiring work in the 50th anniversary of its premiere. Joining the choir and orchestra will be celebrated soloists from Utah State University, the New York Metropolitan Opera, and the Juilliard School. Don't delay. Get your tickets today and join the American Festival Chorus and Orchestra for the finale of the 2023 and 24 season, Saturday, April 27th at the Danes Concert Hall.
Hi, this is Paulette of Valley Recycling. Our annual Earth Day event, April 22nd through the 27th, will be offering bonus pricing on aluminum cans, old automobiles, appliances, copper, aluminum, steel, and other metal scrap. Bring it to Valley Recycling at 145 North 10th West in Logan. All customers will receive Firehouse Subs and Cafe Sabor food coupons and be entered to win giveaways from other local vendors. Valley Recycling's Earth Day event, Monday, April 22nd through Saturday, April 27th. For pricing and information, go to valleymetalrecycling.com.
Have you ever wondered about having your air ducts cleaned? There are a lot of scammers and fake companies on social media trying to rip you off. The Duct Hunter, a Logan area company, would love to answer your questions and provide a free quote for air duct cleaning. Call the Duct Hunter at 435-770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
DD Auto and Salvage has seen hundreds of you taking advantage of big money for junker vehicles and scrap metal. It's Earth Week, and DD Auto and Salvage is going to continue to give the highest possible price for junk vehicles and metal. Clean it up and get it out during Earth Week. To celebrate Earth Week, DD Auto and Salvage is providing a free barbecue lunch Saturday from 10 to 3. Everyone is welcome. Happy Earth Day, Cache Valley, from DD Auto and Salvage, 1976 West, 200 North Logan on Valley View Highway.
Trust this kid any further than I can throw him.
Well, with your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't throw anybody.
Don't mind telling you.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Andy Morgan joining us in just a bit. We're going to be talking about some of the reaction to A24's Civil War in theaters for a couple of weeks now, but the debate online has just raged on. We'll talk about a little bit about why politics is keeping this discussion afloat, because the audiences and critics agree this is just a good movie to go see. So that's coming up later on. New in theaters, a lot new actually in theaters this weekend after some sleepy weekends. Unsung Hero, a For King and Country film is the subtitle on this. Based on a true story, opened here in Cache Valley today. And it follows the story of David Smallbone, is his name, moves his family from down under to the United States looking for a music career. And his music company in Australia has collapsed. And with their 7 kids, a suitcase, and love of music, the trailer says, he and his wife, Helen, bring the family and try to rebuild their lives. And it is an inspired true story, according to this description here. But for those not familiar with it, 5-time Grammy Award-winning artist, King and Country and Rebecca St. James involved as well. So, again, inspired by a true story. Has some funny clips in the trailer. I've linked to that on our Facebook page if you'd like to check that out. That is new, playing at both theaters here in Logan. Also new, probably more of a select audience for this. It is rated R, and from what I've read, it earns the R. To say the least. It's titled, it's based on also based on a true story, recently declassified files of a real thing, the British War Department. The movie's titled The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and it's an action comedy about these British special forces, first ever special forces organization, formed during World War II, kept secret, but the brainchild of UK Prime Minister Winston Churchill and a group of military officials he collaborated with to create this secret until now organization. Everyone knew it existed, I think, after the war, not during. But it played a critical role in top secret combat, and they intentionally hired misfits. Kind of like the A-Team movie or TV show plot, but in real life. Or the, I can't remember what the DC Comics one was now, recently, that led to the Suicide Squad and others, but kind of a similar story, except real life. They would hire, military service members who were about to get booted out for breaking the rules. They would hire retired military service members who would even serve time for certain nonviolent crimes. They were intentionally looking for people that would maybe be a little more rogue and risk-taking oriented, and that's where the word ungentlemanly came from. That was actually Winston Churchill himself said, "We want an ungentlemanly lot for these missions." And so the movie titled The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, again based on actual events, now declassified by the British government, of the secretive British War Department invented by Winston Churchill in the midst of the war, and something that historians say was pretty critical to some of the things that led to and brought about the end of the war eventually. And so their official title, by the way, British SAS, kind of a British version of U.S.'s Black Ops. And the movie is directed and co-written by Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes, other movies like that, and produced by Jerry Bruckheimer behind Top Gun Maverick, Pirates of the Caribbean, National Treasure, of all those. So it gives you an idea of what kind of a movie we're talking about here. It stars Henry Cavill, Superman, Eiza Gonzalez from Baby Driver, Alan Ritchson, TV's Reacher, really good in Reacher. I've only seen a couple episodes, but great, and others. Oh, Babs Olismakin from Dune. You'll know who I'm talking about when you see your face, and others. So pretty big cast, and Carrie Elwes from The Princess Bride. Always nice to see that person still around. But yeah, this is also getting rave reviews from audiences. Critics are they're not panning it, but it's getting a big meh from critics. Also in theaters here in Logan from previous opening weekends, but also getting some big thumbs up from critics and audiences alike, is Abigail. This is the story of a young 12-year-old ballerina, daughter of a powerful underworld figure, not based on a true story. And the plot, they have to collect $50 million ransom, and all they have to do is collect that. To collect that $50 million ransom is keep an eye on this 12-year-old ballerina girl overnight in an isolated mansion. And then something starts to happen. This is a horror movie, by the way. Something in between horror movie and action adventure movie, I would say, is kind of how it plays out. But it is directed by a two-person team, Matt Olpin and Terry Gillett, who directed Ready or Not, which was kind of a fun horror movie based on the hide-and-seek game, but with some social commentary thrown in. I enjoyed it. And also the team behind 2022's quasi-sequel, quasi-remake Scream, and last year's Scream 6, because that needed to happen, right? Scream goes to New York. And this is an action-adventure movie, but it is also a vampire movie. Spoiler alert. That's actually in the trailer, though. They kind of reveal that. But so this gang of criminals, they've kidnapped this 12-year-old ballerina girl, and they just have to keep an eye on her overnight, and then they'll get to share in the $50 million ransom. You don't know who's actually behind the kidnapping. This group of criminals has just been hired to kidnap this girl, and that's part of the secret of the plot. And then something starts picking the criminals off at this isolated mansion one by one. And it's vampires, by the way. So I'm throwing that out so that nobody is mistaken into thinking this. Because the plot actually sounds really cool. And so I feel like it's important to kind of spoil it a little bit, as the trailer does. I'm not breaking any spoiler rules here. To spoil it a little bit and say it's vampires. Not that you shouldn't go see it. I plan to see it, but I feel like everybody should know as much as they can, so you don't go in. If you're not a fan of vampire movies, you're probably going to be pretty angry when you figure out it's vampires. So that is playing at both theaters here in Cache Valley as well. And final film to mention, 45th anniversary this year of the theatrical release of Ridley Scott's classic, one-of-a-kind, 1979 sci-fi horror masterpiece. I know that word gets overused, but it's really true in this case. Alien. This is the first time the film has been in theaters since 2003's extended director's cut that got a limited theatrical run. Similar in this case, limited theatrical run, but a different way. Instead of limited number of theaters, it is everywhere across the country this week for a very limited amount of time. Don't expect to be able to see this a week from now, is what I'm saying. So if you want to see Alien, the original film, on the big screen, do so between now and next Friday. And then before the film, at most theaters, attendees get to see a short titled Alien, A Conversation with Ridley Scott and Fede Alvarez. director of the latest, and maybe didn't need to happen, alien movie, Alien Romulus. So the two sit down and talk with the original Ridley Scott and Fede Alvarez, director of Alien Romulus, which I think opens next week. I'm not sure about that, actually. Don't quote me on that. I know it's soon. And they discuss the influence of this sci-fi horror masterpiece, Alien. Originally released in June of 1979, one of the very few, only actually, sci-fi horror films to win an Oscar, which it won for Best Visual Effects, and those effects seem very dated and not so best these days. Personally, I think it should have won for writing, or if there was an Oscar for general creepy atmosphere, because this is also sci-fi horror is the perfect description of this movie. It's not like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street type pop-out horror. It's more of a creeping menace with occasional 1979 special effects level goriness. So it seems almost quaint today, the goriness that made this a horror movie in a way. And it's sci-fi because it's on a spaceship and it's an alien that's hunting everybody. But honestly, one of the most well-made films when it comes to overall atmosphere, creepiness, general tension. This is one of the few movies that even if you've seen it a few times, every time you see it, you still tense up at the parts where you're supposed to tense up. So this is a classic, and if you've never seen it on the big screen, it's kind of fun to. I saw it in 2003 when the extended director's cut got released, and had to go to Salt Lake to see that on a big screen, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever seen the movie on a big screen with the theater surround sound, and it's a whole different experience for something I'd only experienced on TVs, either on DVD or Blu-ray. Or a streaming service. To see it on the big screen was to kind of feel what it was like for those original audiences before this film became known as a classic, a masterpiece. It was kind of a fun experience. And it is creepier when the aliens are that big. So check it out. Again, playing here in Cache Valley. I wouldn't expect it to be playing still next weekend. I might be surprised. They haven't put an official end date on this. But I would guess where it's described as a extremely limited run, but it is in a lot of theaters. I'm guessing by limited they mean limited amount of time. And one review here saying that it is only in theaters until next Thursday, but I don't know if that will be the case here in Logan for sure. I would guess So again, if you want to see this, get out and see it. It is really cool to see on the big screen and a fun experience. And there you have it. That's what's playing new here in Cache Valley. As far as what's still playing, plenty you can still get out and see if you've missed it. I mentioned Civil War. We're going to be talking about that more with Andy and some of the reaction to this from crowds and audiences. Villains. This is, I don't know, we'll skip that for the time being. Escape from Germany. This is a true story by director T.C. Christensen of LDS missionaries escaping from Germany in the early years of the war. Kong x Godzilla, The New Empire, still playing. And surprisingly, Dune Part 2 still playing. And finally, Villains. This is what it is. I wish it were getting better reviews because it sounds kind of funny, but this is... basically the story of a grocery store and a group of people's attempt to save it after the death of their boss. They're living in this abandoned grocery store, and they decided that they're going to remake the grocery store and their lives at the same time, and it is getting panned, to say the least, as a crime thriller. So... We'll see where things go from there. But there you have it. That's what you can get out and see in theaters here in Logan this weekend. And we'll be back with more of For the People movie show and Andy Morgan right after this.
610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
This It's a Sweetwater window cleaning. Now spring is here, you'll be wanting to reclaim your home from all that dirt and grime. Why not have us take care of the window cleaning for you? I'm sure you've got plenty on your to-do list already. And let's face it, when you climb that dangerous ladder to clean your own windows, they never come out as good as you'd like. Let us give you that safe, crystal clean, professional results you want. Mention this ad and we'll remove hard water for free.
Sweetwater window cleaning, 3636543, 3636543.
Coming up on the Monday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, the ongoing pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests on campuses. What is this telling us, not just about how the universities are responding, but are the Democrats panicked about this? Plus, Clay.
We'll dive into the absolute latest on the chaos surrounding the Trump lawfare. What is the latest? We'll break it all down for you Monday, Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show. Before the break there, I ran through everything you can get out and see in movie theaters, so stay tuned. On the other side, Andy Morgan with us. We're going to be talking about the reaction in politics to Civil War, the movie, and what you can expect us. It is official. Summer movie season is starting early again this year. It is always the case. And that's coming up in just a bit. One final note for listeners. A listener asked about this, and I just wanted to confirm because I hadn't mentioned it. A listener was curious about the rating on T.C. Christensen's Escape from Germany. This is the story, again, true story, of a LDS missionaries escaping Germany in the earliest years of the war. And for those who would like to see this, the rating is PG. I didn't mention that before, and a listener posted a quick chat message asking. That movie is rated PG and is still playing here in both theaters in Logan. So stay tuned. The For the People movie show and Andy Morgan's thoughts on everything right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by Bell Medical. A man was arrested Wednesday and accused of trying to secretly film a woman in a department store dressing room last fall. 48-year-old Eric Gerardo Betancourt Alvarado was booked into the Salt Lake County Jail for investigation of voyeurism. Police say the incident happened on September 16th at Nordstrom Rack. A woman was in a dressing room when she saw the cell phone under the stall and believed it to be recording from a red light on the device. The victim confronted the male and asked why he was recording her in the dressing room. The man quickly exited the store. The woman notified a store employee who followed Betancourt Alvarado and got a picture of his license plate as he drove off. Using that information, in addition to surveillance video, Salt Lake police detectives later identified the man as Betancourt Alvarado, due in part to his tattoos. According to the affidavit, he was located, questioned, and arrested on Wednesday. One person died after a concrete slab fell on him at a worksite on the south end of Salt Lake County. The incident happened around 12:45 Thursday afternoon at Olympus Precast in Bluffdale. Chief Matt Evans with the Bluffdale Fire Department said crews responded to the address after reports the 43-year-old man was trapped. The man was an employee of the company. Evans said the man was loading a concrete slab onto his truck when it fell on him. The man's identity was not released. Crews from Unified Fire Authority and Draper Fire Department were called in to assist. And multiple residents in northern Utah on Thursday pointed their phones to the sky when a form took shape in the clouds, and it kind of looked like a tornado. And technically it was. The landspout is a type of tornado, but it's far from what most people would consider a typical tornado. Tornadoes form when the air rotation begins in the storm clouds, while landspouts form when that rotation begins on the ground. They're also far less powerful, but have been known to do damage. Nothing like that in our forecast this weekend. Rain showers and a chance of thunderstorms this evening. Overnight low in the low 40s. Rain showers likely Saturday morning, then rain showers and a slight chance of thunder in the afternoon on Saturday. High temperature in the mid-50s. Less of a chance, maybe a little bit more sunshine on Sunday, high around 60. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
Wouldn't it be nice to lose a minimum of 2 to 5 inches of fat, just like that? At Bell Medical, with our uniquely patented FDA-cleared procedures, we are able to permanently remove that stubborn, hormonal fat that almost seems impossible to get rid of. And we are able to do it in a way that is so precise, we can guarantee a minimum of 2 to 5 inches of fat loss after 1 visit with us.
Schedule your free consultation at our bountiful clinic at bellmedical.com and let us make your dreams a reality.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. Millions of Americans are in the path of severe storms tonight. There are tornado watches in effect from Texas to Iowa. A suspected twister left several injured in Lancaster County, Nebraska. Former President Trump with an invitation to President Biden. He's willing to debate anytime, any place.
We're willing to do it Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, or Friday night on national television. We're ready. Just tell me where. We'll do it at the White House. That would be very comfortable, actually.
Mr. Trump leaving court today. His hush money trial is in recess until Tuesday. The Pentagon says the largest package of military aid to Ukraine is now on its way. Pro-Palestinian protests are expanding to more college campuses, including one today at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which is also attended by students from Duke University. 4 years probation for Jeremy Cooper, one of the Colorado paramedics convicted of giving Elijah McClain a lethal dose of a sedative. This is ABC News.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. There's a story that came to us from a real customer, and I wanted to share it with you.
We came in looking for a scooter for our mother. The staff at Alpine showed us different options for scooters and battery-operated wheelchairs and helped us find one that was easy for her to handle and easy for us to get in and out of her car. They have fabulous customer service.
We love hearing about your experiences. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. Is Deputy Davies there?
Oh, yeah, this is she.
Are you a deputy with Franklin County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I am.
Several months ago, a listener contacted us and said that you're always courteous to people and that you try to help someone regardless of their circumstances. And so we just wanted to call and tell you thanks for what you do in our community and give you free lunch to Firehouse Set.
Okay, that just made my whole day. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio. And
it's been a hot minute.
It goes from like the awards or January awards for me. It goes from the film festival, which is obviously pretty film intense. I see a lot of movies, and then there's award season where I usually catch up a little bit on the Oscars movies I didn't see.
Yeah,
and then we get to this time of year where it's not summer yet, but it's definitely starting to feel like summer movie season. And
I mean, you kind of made a joke as we went to the break. You said something to you went summer movie season, and then you kind of went, and I took that as like it's always summer movie season.
It really
there's a blockbuster, every week, right?
Other than the little pause, end of January to 1st of March.
I don't even know if it's like people just go like everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and how studios like decide what a blockbuster is now.
That's where I was going with that. Do you think what are the conversations like now these days on release dates?
I think because they have so many tentpole movies that everything's built around that. Like, and that's always been the case.
Dune, for example, this year they were like, who cares? I mean, February is fine. Put it out. Or no, it was first part of April. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, and it was
end of March, 1st of April. I think.
I'm not sure. Honestly, that's a great question because I think there's, I don't know, this is going to sound, I don't mean this to sound as cantankerous as it's going to sound.
Get on.
But I think some studios are just like, they don't have to really try. And I think with Dune, that was one where they're like, hey, what do you think, guys? Like, it's not like they're like, boy, we better ramp this up because if this fails.
I mean, they basically put out, 1.5 trailers.
I mean, they had teasers.
And that was it.
People have been waiting for it. It's a beloved fan franchise. I think, that's not going to be a movie where they're like, yeah, we better put this in October.
Yeah.
If we don't, we're not going to get the Oscar noms. Like, no, it's gonna get its Oscar love.
So you don't think it's a sign of them caring less about seasonal release time?
I know. I do think that's a part of it. But I think you have to position movies that probably need a little boost more than you do something like a Dune.
Okay.
And I also
because
think
that's a time when usually studios would release films they hoped would maybe not get noticed.
You're right. No, you're 100% right.
Some people are going to love this, but everyone else is going to make fun of us for making it. So let's put it out in March.
Yeah, you're right. Like, hey, we have this we have this Kim Basinger movie, Bless the Child. Where should we stick that?
I forgot about that.
How about we put that on January 22nd when no one will go to the movies, right?
Or like Scarlet Web. Like, we know what we've done here.
Well,
and
I wonder too.
Here you go to the 5 people that will defend this on Twitter.
Well, I do wonder, like, when they have like Madam Web, and then they have old
or Madam Web. Sorry,
but they have but then they have Morbius.
That's a mashup.
They have Morbius, and they have there was the 2 movies that Warner Brothers canceled.
Morbius.
The Batgirl movie. And I can't remember. Was it the Yogi Bear movie? I think. Anyway, and they have these out there, right? And I just wonder where the conversation comes in, where they're like, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's almost like they want to defend their reputation more than like let something out. Sony's just like, whatever, throw it all against the wall.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's kind of how Sony is. But I think Warner Brothers, their CEO's like, we could write this off. He is definitely more concerned about, like, you can tell he has a very
business manager,
financial. Maybe keen isn't the right word, but he's just like, if I write this off, actually at the end of the year, the board gets a better, end of the year whatever.
And in a way, it's interesting because he's now started a at least online, a cult.
Yeah, people
around that movie.
Want those movies out.
What was the movie that he pulled?
Batgirl.
Oh, that's right, Batgirl.
Yeah.
So there's now an actual online, tens of thousands of people cult around trying to force Warner Brothers to release Batgirl.
I love the
and the executive saying,
I mean, come on,
it will never happen, folks.
We're gonna force. Hey,
I think even the cast finally said they were okay with it never seeing the light of day.
As much as I love,
it was that bad.
As much as I love fans, I hate fans.
Hey, that is a great segue.
Hey, we don't like this Game of Thrones. Do it again. Do it again.
This is a great segue because the funniest thing that is the same but also total opposite of what you just mentioned, the fan haters that upset there was a black stormtrooper, upset that
I think George Lucas was
spoiler alert, upset that Luke Skywalker died.
Guys, we already had one black guy. It was Lando. We met our quota.
Too much.
No more.
Too much.
2 more. Nope. We also had other people. They were aliens with racist accents. So
that was awkward.
Also,
that was really awkward when I saw Phantom Menace the first time.
Also, girls can't be Jedis.
This is a little.
If they are, they're just like nameless, quiet people in the council, like most women should be.
So I want this alien to be an actual racial stereotype. George said to the producer.
It's weird that he's not married.
Speaking of
just
that,
kidding. George Lucas, the original incel.
Before we get into this with
sorry,
the
George.
fan reaction to Civil War, I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look it up. I'll mention it after our break. But there is a series on Netflix that is, I don't remember if this is Netflix now. There's a series that's sort of like a Star Wars behind the scenes thing.
Okay.
And they talk to George Lucas's ex-wife. I think it might be on Disney Plus. That would make more sense.
He's racist.
No,
that's not going to be on Disney Plus.
She talks about the prequels and basically blames it all on the producer guy, Rick.
Oh, Rick McCallum?
Blames it on him.
That wouldn't surprise me.
And she says, George Lucas's ex-wife said he cannot tell George no. And George thinks that he's got someone who will be honest with him, and he will not tell George no, and that's why you got the prequels.
If your boss, your boss is walking around with the stamp, and he's going, oh, I like this one, and I like this one.
She talks about that kind of stuff.
Would you be like, oh, yeah,
She said someone told. She
guys
said
are-
Rick should have told George, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Well, I don't
with
even
some
know.
of this stuff.
Actually, speaking of that, Jason, if you don't want to see Fall Guy next Friday, and you're like, you know what, I'd rather see The Phantom Menace again.
You're gonna have an opportunity.
It's going to be in theaters next Friday.
Which, by the way, you know, in hierarchy of prequels to see, it's Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace second, and Attack of the Clones last, as far as quality goes. Muy.
Jason.
That
You
was.
sound like a
She
Sima
talks about Jar
movie.
Jar Binks too. She said, "I saw an early cut of the film, and I said to Rick, the producer that can't tell George no, you should tell George this is bad," and he wouldn't.
Yeah, everyone in Jamaica was like, "We hate this show.
This is awful.
This is racist."
And plus, it's not funny. That was a tangent, sorry. So let me set this up again. You said you were talking about Game of Thrones fans upset about the ending and demanding that HBO remake it.
Keep talking about that.
The other fans that were
Come on.
demanding that Disney remake The Last Jedi and upset about all kinds of stupid stuff. And so now we have this movie in theaters now with this opposite but kind of the same thing happening where you have all these, they aren't fans, but you have all these same people, these, well, let's call them Twitter commentators or armchair quarterbacks for movies.
It's the 1% that sounds like the 100%.
Yeah, they're loud and obnoxious and don't have hobbies or jobs.
Not reality.
Basically.
Just noisy.
And what they're upset about with this film in theaters now is that it doesn't. So Civil War comes out, but in the lead up to Civil War coming out, there's all this talk of, you know, this is maybe a bad movie to release right now. You have these online political factions actually calling for Civil War over, things like diversity and equity measures at universities. You have a lot of political unrest. You have a former president on trial 3 times over.
Online commentator was the right word. Racist.
Well, sometimes, yeah. A lot of times it seems like. And then Civil War comes out, and now what are they mad about? There isn't a political message in the movie, and they are angry. So prior to the movie coming out, they're like, "This better be the message I like."
No. My favorite.
And then there's no political message, and they're like, "Hey."
I was telling somebody about this movie.
It's so fascinating to watch them.
They said, "What are the states? Like, how are the states divided?" And I said, "Well, it's California and Texas and kind of Florida against everyone else." And they were like, "Wait, California and Texas?" And I was like, "Yeah, how's that for a conundrum?"
And Alex Garland even said he took pains and steps with the script and the plot to make sure that it couldn't be twisted into a political message, because he said he really just wanted to make a kind of a sci-fi dystopian movie about what a civil war in America these days might look like.
There's nobody that's a Trump caricature. I mean, in fact, the guy that plays the president, sometimes you look at him and go, "Oh, he's very presidential." You know what I mean? There's nothing. They don't really ever talk about why it happened.
Yeah,
it's just they're on the ground.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
the
going
other part.
on.
He doesn't get into the background, and so now people are mad. First, they're like, "Oh, I wish this movie hadn't been made because it's not going to be the political message I personally endorse." And then the movie comes out and there's no political message, and they're like, "Hey, now I'm mad there's not a political message."
No,
it's really fast. It's so revealing about how petty social media makes grown adults.
It is.
Anyway, to the movie itself.
But no, and I can't remember because it's been a couple weeks, right? We've had some reruns a little bit. I've been traveling.
The last movie
I had Ebola last Friday.
Last movie we actually did a review for was Godzilla X Kong.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about 2 things, because I did see Civil War. I think I also saw
Villains. Did you see Villains?
No, I didn't. I saw the Ministry
is this
of
movie getting panned.
Ungentlemanly Warfare, which I will say is fantastic.
Is it?
In fact, right now,
it looks so good.
My favorite 2 movies of the year so far are Civil War and this. Guy Ritchie is like if Quentin Tarantino was just a little bit more fun and British and wasn't so obsessed with feet, that would be Guy Ritchie. Like he's very
and 70s music.
He's very stylistic. I mean, it almost like if you sat me down in this movie and
almost
said,
to a fault, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, if you said, "Hey, Andy, this guess what director this is," and I had no idea, I would probably say, I mean, it feels like Quentin Tarantino. Is it a Quentin Tarantino protege?
Yeah.
It's
to the point where you have rip-offs of Tarantino and Guy Ritchie. People who are making very similar movies, in their style.
I will say this.
Because the style is so kind of a character in the movie itself.
Well, you know what makes this movie so great is that there's recognizable faces, but there's really the star power of this movie in terms of like main character kind of thing is you've got the guy that plays Reacher, which I can't think of his name off the top of my head, and he's playing a Swedish guy, which is hilarious, by the way. And then you've got Henry Cavill. And I have to say, I know fans were disappointed when James Gunn
Alan
was
Richardson.
That's the guy. But I know people were disappointed when James Gunn said, Henry Cavill's not going to come back as Superman. But I got to say, at some point...
He's done a lot of cool stuff otherwise.
Henry Cavill, he's great. And what he's great at is playing... I almost like to see him without his like kind of Superman face, like when he was in the Mission Impossible movie with his little curly mustache, and
that was actually so good.
And in this show, he's just it's such a fun character.
People didn't like it, but they one he did pre-Superman based on the old black and white TV show. What was that? The Man?
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
That actually got really good reviews.
A really good spy movie in which
I think that's Guy Ritchie, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. It is actually, now that you mention it.
We'll have to check that out. But I will say, since we're talking about it, again, it's very R-rated, swearing. There's no like nudity or anything like that. Actually, that's not true. I think there is a little bit of brief nudity, but it's not the kind. It's like, oh, look, a dead body. A lot of bullets, a lot of blood, a lot of stabbing, a lot of arrows. I would say it's very much like Inglourious Bastards, Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, okay,
like
that type of violence.
It's just. I mean, it's like, hey, look, and I didn't realize this, but it's pretty much a true story. Now, the characters in the movie don't look like the real characters. In fact, I was like, those guys are looking back from the grave going, thank you.
Oh.
I was this little Swedish dweeb, and you cast Alan Richardson, or Alan, whatever his name is, not Alan Rickman.
No.
We brought him back. No, I'm sorry.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, weekend. No, that's terrible.
Can we talk about this for a second?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Can we talk about...
What's his name in Harry Potter? Snape.
So starring in this film, previously known for playing a young Lord Voldemort in that one pretty bigoted ladies book series that was turned into a movie. Boy, is she surprising. Anyway, let's talk about this. It stars... I'm going to read the full name. Hero, but I'm not making this up. Hero Beauregard Faulkner Fiennes Tiffin.
That's a lot of names.
That is this 26-year-old actor's name. Hero Beauregard
Who does he play in the movie?
Faulkner Fiennes Tiffin. He plays... hold on, I'm going back to it here. He plays... it doesn't say because the Megaplex Theater website is substandard.
Let me tell you,
he's a young guy with a little crew cut looking haircut. Does that sound familiar?
No, he might have been in the background, but I can tell you there is somebody. If you were
I'll find out.
If you were a fan of movies, like you were a teenager, probably in like 20, like the time Twilight was coming out, you'll recognize this name, Alex Pettyfer.
He plays Henry Hayes.
It doesn't ring a bell.
Okay,
Alex Pettyfer.
With a name like that, you'd think he's not the star.
He's actually really great in the show. I didn't recognize him at first because he's got a full beard. His hair's not like his, and he's obviously older now. But I was surprised to see him back, and it was kind of a pleasant surprise. I thought he had a bright future. I don't know where he went. I haven't really taken the time to go through that. But I was, I looked over at my daughter who saw this with me, and again. She was big into like, what was the I am number 4? Like I am whatever that was. I am number 2, 3.
Yeah,
I can't remember
based
what it was.
on the young adult.
Yeah, and he
series.
was in it, and I said to her, is that Alex Pettyfer? And she was like, yeah. I think she actually had an Alex Pettyfer poster. But anyway, highly recommend it.
Those books were pretty popular.
Straight
10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Huge.
I give this a straight A. I can say the same thing for Civil War. Flat out A. Great. There will be Oscar stuff that comes from Civil War. I could see myself. Best original screenplay.
Really?
I don't know how best. It's hard because between now and there's a lot of movies. But I would say to safeguard myself that this I could see myself giving Civil War Oscar, not Oscar because I'm an Oscar voter, but I could see it giving awards consideration at the end of the year.
I know that you're careful about spoiling things, and this is a big question that everybody has who hasn't seen the movie, but Just do you have a rating for the ending? Because everybody wants to know, a movie like this, can it have a fulfilling ending, or is it a cop-out cliffhanger?
There's no cliffhanger.
I kind of know the answer. It's not a cliffhanger, but how would you grade? What's your grade for the ending of Civil War?
I thought the ending was fine. I mean,
Okay.
it's one of those things where I don't think it's going to disappoint anyone, but I just don't. If someone's going to go in and they're looking for some kind of like, it's just not there.
Okay.
I mean, this is told
It's
from
just kind of typical Alex Garland, right?
I mean, it's just a. I like things that are left undone because I don't think everything needs to have a bow tied nicely on it. I think sometimes you just have to realize. I mean, that's how life is. So we do it.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't get a bow, and that's how Civil War plays out. And I think, again, probably one of the most intense war movies I've ever seen. Just very disturbing.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
For
a lot of the reasons you think.
Some of the clips I've seen are unnerving.
It started me down a path, actually, a couple weeks ago. I remember a movie called The Day After.
Yeah.
I think it was 1984.
Made for TV, isn't it?
83, 84. Maybe it was even 82. Made for TV. It was so disturbing at the time that I remember they did a special broadcast after with like Ted Koppel. And
you had to calm people down.
Carl Sagan and a few others. I actually think Robert McNamara, the former Secretary of Defense, was on it. Anyhow,
you also have to couch this with the fact that they released the day after this nuclear war
at the height of the Cold War, kind of.
Yeah, like
not the height, but yeah. I mean, it wasn't like
basically, it's the story of the end of the United States as we know it. And
set in Kansas is where it's set.
Same year that they released V, when the lizard aliens take over and invade our society.
I remember watching,
but look like humans.
I remember
except
watching
they eat
and
mice
crying.
and birds.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
as a child, I'm like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
I can't do TV anymore. I'm going to go read a book.
Yeah, we talked about it in school the next day. I remember, but my point in bringing this up is that I thought one of the most disturbing things about The Day After wasn't necessarily the nuclear bomb setting, which was horrific at the time.
Yeah,
but it was the behavior of people afterwards. There's the scene at the end. If you've seen The Day After, you remember the farmer who's goes out and there's some people camped out and they've killed one of his animals, and he's like, he just gets off his horse and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And he's like, "This is my home." And then a guy just blows him away, just shoots him. And they leave
really dark.
Yeah, Jason Robards, who's great and everything.
Yeah,
Steve Guttenberg. They were like, "Hey man, before you go to police academy, want to be in this?"
Steve Guttenberg and
John Lithgow's in it.
Everybody always goes right to Police Academy and not 3 Men and a Baby.
Yeah, but that was later.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
That was coming after his Police Academy.
That was the tail end of his very short career.
You also forget Cocoon.
Yeah. And
where Wilford Brimley was the same age as Paul Rudd, and no one believes that.
And wasn't he in? No, it's not him. No, it is him in Short Circuit.
Steve Guttenberg?
Is that Guttenberg?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
I can't remember.
I know that.
I remember Johnny Five. Someone wrote that into a
Johnny
script.
Five.
And everybody was like, same producers that won't tell George Lucas no. They were like, Johnny Five, that's a great name for a robot in a sci-fi
Isn't
movie
Fisher
for kids.
Stevens in that? And he plays like
Fisher Stevens.
But doesn't he play an Indian guy?
I think it is Steve Guttenberg that plays the quote-unquote hero. But Fisher Stevens is the actual hero.
But isn't
in
Fisher
Short Circuit.
Stevens doesn't he play like an Indian guy?
Yeah, he's the programmer. He's with a
very
borderline racist accent.
I was going to say, I just remember he was like,
we need you to...
I can't even do it.
Crank it up to 11, Fisher, on the racist stereotypes, please.
Terrible.
And Fisher was like, all right, it's money in the bank. And really quick before we go to our
I think
break.
they might have brown-faced him a little bit. I got to go look. Because I'm pretty sure Fisher
in
Stevens is a white fella.
In the sequel, he is the star because Gutenberg was busy, I guess. And
everyone was busy.
The 80s were a weird time when it comes to race. Really quick before we go to the break,
bad.
Wesley is in the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. How does he do?
Wesley?
From Princess Bride?
Oh, he's got a minor role, but he's good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's good.
All right. Just like to keep up on how his career is
He
going.
plays like they call him M, actually, M. because there's some foreshadowing to the development of like kind of MI6, and actually his assistant's named Fleming, and I guess that Ian Fleming based James Bond off of this guy that Henry Cavill plays.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
See?
2 movies to get out and see, both in theaters here in Logan. Still The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, based on a true story. Not based on a true story yet, fingers crossed. Civil War. Both big thumbs up from Andy. And we'll be back with more of the For the People movie show right after this.
You define a country by its borders, and you could define its leaders by how they defend those borders. And Joe Biden has failed. The Biden-Harris border policies have led to millions of illegal crossings and allowed tens of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs onto our streets. Their failures are making America less secure and costing American lives. That's why in Congress, Mike Simpson has been unwavering in his commitment to secure America's border. Mike Simpson understands that we're facing an invasion, and we must defend our country by building the wall, increasing Border Patrol agents, and halting open border policies. Mike Simpson has led the charge on these issues, co-sponsoring bills that would empower law enforcement to detain criminals who are also illegal immigrants and prohibit illegal immigrants from receiving driver's licenses and Social Security benefits. Call Congressman Mike Simpson at 208-334-1953 and thank Mike Simpson for putting America's security first. Paid for by Defending Main Street.
This is Alina Oling, CAPSA's Director of Awareness and Development. CAPSA works with businesses to provide training about domestic and sexual violence, how to recognize it, and support impacted team members. When abuse is identified, CAPSA supports the organization and provides services to their team members. This reflects CAPSA's commitment to partnering with businesses to end abuse in our community.
CAPSA is Cache Valley's nonprofit domestic and sexual violence support center. Learn more about CAPSA, including ways to support, at capsa.org.
That's our time for this week, but be with us next Friday at 5 when Andy Morgan joins us. We'll be talking about The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling.